Mags has a couple of new books out, so I was checking out, see what people were saying about it. Someone comments, here's a bunch of comics I like. They list Captain America, garbage, Immortal Hulk, garbage, etc., etc., etc. And then they get down to Morning in America, anything Gail Simone or Mags writes. Now, I might believe that they like the first 3 or 4 they mentioned, but you really think they like Morning in America so much they write it last? But hey, virtue signaling is free. Geek says we're proud to be sponsors of Year's Queer Comics. Essentially, we need queers in comics. Well, what percentage of your audience is queer? 3%? 5%? You can do the math. Anyway, comic review. Oh, I should read that. Calamity Kate. You got 3 recirculations and 4 hearts. Not a lot of excitement here. She says, I've got 3 new books out today. Morning in America, Calamity Kate, Teenage Wasteland. Well, I gave reviews for Morning in America. Not very good. And I'm going to give Calamity Kate a review right now. But I can tell you the summation. Not very good. Not a bad cover, though. I'll give you that. I mean, except for the face. It looks like she's kind of Dennis the Menace, cross-dressing and constipated. The title is a bit... I'm glad I saved the title for a minute in, because it's Why Gay Characters Don't Work. I realize it's not politically correct, but your audience is limited to the less than 5% gay population, and the percentage of the gays who read comics. Let me correct myself. Lesbians are the absolute worst character you could possibly have. You've excluded 99% of your audience. Straight guys won't read a lesbian character. Women in general don't buy comics. So how many lesbians read them? Your first issue was 4,400 sold. That's about $18,000. That's probably mostly by virtue signaling college lipstick lesbians. The second reason the lesbians don't work: you have a 100-pound girl running around doing things you'd expect a 6'2", 250-pound Schwarzenegger-type character to do. A verisimilitude. I mean, it's silly no matter what, but it's a violation of our learned experience, having women perform feats of strength. We know men are strong. Women are mothers. We know that when a boy is about 10, he is stronger than his mother. Once he's 12, there's no looking back. Professional women's soccer teams lose to high school boys. So when 230-pound Deadpool runs around with a sword, we believe it, but a 115-pound girl just looks silly. Another problem is, it's all women. It's an estrogen-fueled fish fest. Oddly enough, written by a man who takes estrogen. So the concept is, I said the R word, I'll just say silly. But the dialogue is fun, at least. How do I say this? It would be fun if it wasn't in such a ridiculous setting, but it's fun for a few pages. But then you see the size of these giant monsters she fights with a sword, and the story falls apart immediately. A 130-pound girl with a sword isn't going to be fighting any 40-foot monster. She would be an appetizer. She isn't magic, she's just a single lesbian cat mom. So essentially, she's as strong as a 12-year-old boy. So why isn't the military fighting these things? Why aren't big, strong men fighting them? Why is she using a sword? Why not use a rifle with an underslung 40mm? So why is Deadpool able to pull off a similar scene? Well, besides being twice his size and ripped, Deadpool's likable. We will forgive likable characters. It's why Luke Skywalker works and Mary Ray Sue doesn't work. It's also why Admiral Holdo and Princess Leia didn't work in The Last Jedi. 1, they weren't likable. 2, they didn't appear to have leadership capabilities. But I digress. It's a bit frustrating reading Mags, because I feel that underneath all her seething hatred is a good writer. If Mags wrote a straight character into this role, it might work. Have the monster hunter be a straight dude on a redemption arc. He would be in competition with the girl monster hunter. They compete, flirt, then finally team up to fight the last boss, or blow up the Death Star or whatever. This allows you to sell your book to the widest possible audience. Straight people, 95% of the humans on Earth. But Mags would probably get kicked out of Club SJW for that faux pas. So what did the creative team do right? The art is fine for what they're selling. It's silly and light, but there aren't any glaring mistakes. I mean, the technical details of the art is good, but the art composition is silly. For example, the living room has blood splatters on the walls and skulls all over the place, plus a battle axe that she never uses. Why are the walls covered in blood? Wouldn't you clean that up? Everything is drawn well. It's just a silly composition, but it's fine. Another weird thing is all the foul language. Swearing is fine among adults, but she swears nonstop in front of a child. Why doesn't the mom have a problem with that? Swearing in front of a kid is a sign of low character. The hero is supposed to be heroic. A hero doesn't drop F-bombs in front of a kid. I don't know if anyone would accept a 120-pound chick chopping off monster limbs that are the size of a horse. The willing suspense of disbelief only goes so far. You couldn't cut a rhino in half with a katana. It's way too light. You need something with more mass, like a battle axe. Am I being too picky? Would I accept it if it was a superpowered character like Captain America or Spider-Man cutting through things through several feet of muscle and sinew? I don't know, but the reader is more forgiving of characters we like than characters that are obvious Mary Sues. The plot for the 3 issues is this. Girl fights monster. The backstory is she is getting over her ex-wife, and she's staying at her friend's house and training her friend's kid in kendo or kenjutsu or whatever sword fighting is called. The backstory of her getting over her ex-wife is played in two ways. It's funny, played for laughs, but it's also played for tragedy. Her ex-wife was kind of a jerk, which begs the question, why are you staying with someone who doesn't respect you? Oh, Bianca, how dare you victim blame? That's kind of the point. We don't want our heroes to be whiny victims. If someone talks to you like that, most people would say, hey, if we're going to be together, that kind of thing isn't acceptable. If they continue their behavior, you pack your stuff and dip. But Max has the protagonist sit there and take the abuse. Why? How does being a doormat advance the story or the character? It would have been funner if the competitor Monster Hunter... I don't even know the characters' names. I read the stories. I don't remember the characters' names because they're that forgettable. I guess her name must be Kate because it's the title. How does being a doormat advance the story? I don't know. I think this is something personal with the writer projecting their feelings. It would have been funner if the competitor Monster Hunter stole her wife out from under her, under our hero, so our hero gets figuratively screwed and isn't so meek and mild. I don't want a sad, depressed hero. I want one who's pissed off. On another note, her competitor is drawn as way too muscular for a woman, so I don't know if it's supposed to be a man or where they're going with this. This is not a hero, just sitting there like a whiny little... No. Heroes are not meek and mild. Heroes kick ass. And you set an example. You don't let anyone talk to you like that. Come on. A lot of the writing just seems like the writer has a lot of anger issues. But dude, don't let your anger or depression grind axes for you. Tell a good story with great characters. The quotes on the front cover are hysterical. In the first book, Jeff Lemire says, the characters have life. In the second book, Brian Michael Bendis says, Mags is a real, visceral, important voice in comics. Well, Brian, blink twice if you need help. On the third book, Leah Williams says, we're going to fall in love with this gay disaster. Well, you have something right. You have one word right, at least. It feels like Mags is just throwing a quirky gay character at the wall and hoping something sticks. But obviously, only 4,400 books were sold on the first issue. 2,600 people cared enough to spend the $4 on the second issue. So book one made about $18,000. Book two made about $10,000. After splitting that up, it ain't much. The only way artists like Mag survive is by doing several of these low-selling books a month. And I assume they get residuals. But residuals mean the book is still selling. So that means it must be selling online because there's no way it's in the stores. How well is this book selling online if it's only selling 2,000 in the store, 2,000 to 4,000 in the stores? I don't know. probably not good. So the only way they make a living is by doing several of these books a month. They get canceled after a few issues, then they get hired for a new book, only to repeat the cycle. Of course, comic book stores keep closing, but capitalists are probably all fascists, so screw them. SJW creators like Mags have a long history of writing 3 to 6 issue books. Collectors buy the first issue for some reason, but the sales drop in half by issue 2. I don't know why collectors are buying these issues and putting the numbers up. Are books like this ever collectible? Is there ever a resale market for them? I press F to doubt. SJW comics asymptotically approach 0, but of course they get canceled by issue 6. When an issue only sells 2,600 issues, is it even worth it to keep it on the shelves? Apparently not, because stores keep closing. I guess the books sell in the gay districts of San Francisco, LA, and New York. My point is, it takes the same amount of time to write a bad book as it does a good one. Maybe a little bit more time with editing and rewrites, but you get my point. Making money is not inherently bad. Give people what they want, a good product. The numbers are telling you that this product sucks. And yeah, 4,400 books to 2,600 books. So what is the third? Once they drop down, they kind of level out. So it's probably, I don't know, 2,500 books. I have to check Comic-Con on the 3rd issue. But things like the blood splatters on the wall, that doesn't make sense artistically, and the dishes. And there's no need for her to be such a slob. I don't know what they think it's creating a quirky, fun character, but like, come on, you'd clean the blood off the walls and you wash dishes. You don't leave. It doesn't make sense. Create a quirky, fun character, but you can only push it so far. And swearing in front of the kids. I don't know where you're going with that. Anyway, okay, is that character supposed to be a woman? Or that doesn't look like a woman. But then they have this character, he, she, date her ex-wife, ex-girlfriend. So that means a lesbian is dating a man. I don't know if you all know anything about the queer community, but that never happens. It's kind of a joke if you think a lesbian is going to date a man who identifies as a woman. That has as much chance of happening as a snowflake surviving on the sun. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below.